This episode of 100 Not Out proudly brought to you by the 2017 Greek Island Longevity Retreat to Ikaria, the island where people forget to die. To find out more and to join Damian, myself, and an intimate group of 100 Not Outers, go to www.100notout.com. That's 100notout.com.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to 100 Not Out, featuring your hosts Dr. Damian Christoph and Marcus Pierce.
Hello and welcome to 100 Not Out, a weekly show dedicated to helping you master the art of aging well. My name is Marcus Pierce and here I am with the co-founder of The Wellness Couch and The Wellness Guys. He is the legend of longevity and a great mate of Mitch Albom's. Damian Christoph, welcome along.
Oh, it's so great, mate. Wasn't it amazing to be interviewing Mitch?
Tell you what, our bromance went to a whole new level, because if you did not go to San Francisco to talk to 1,600 people about how to create great health with your nutrition and the rest, you would not have met
him.
Mitch Albom. And for those people going, who is Mitch Albom? Damien and I have a whole new love affair with the great man. Mitch Albom has written Tuesdays with Morrie. His new book is
The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto. Now, this is a fiction book.
They're all,
that's real.
This is real.
That's real. So the profound thing that we learned about Mitch's book, Tuesdays with Morrie, was that it was a story of a man in his last 16 weeks of life. So you go through that, the chronology and the lessons of an old man as he's about to die. And so you find out what's important. And, you know, because our fascination is living to 100, making the rest of your life the best of your life, you know, to learn from someone who's about to pass on, who's about to leave, what would be most important in your life, 16 great lessons. For us, that was a profound experience.
And I suppose on the flip side is, and in talking to Mitch, there was quite a few questions about how was your transformation. To give you a background, Mitch is a sports journalist, loved working in TV, radio, print, working 100-hour weeks, working. Yep. When he was at university, Morrie was his professor, his lecturer, and they developed a friendship. And then fast forward 20 years, Mitch has developed his career, and then Morrie is diagnosed with what we would call in Australia motor neurone disease,
ALS.
what they would call ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. And Mitch is watching TV one night, and all of a sudden an update comes on, and it's the Ted Koppel show.
Yeah.
And Ted has found out about Morrie passing away, sharing his wisdom about living, and then Ted goes over, interviews Morrie, and then Mitch, just out of the blue, sees his former lecturer on TV. I mean, woo-woo, wacky, crazy type of synchronicity in terms of how it all works.
Well, we love that, don't we? Woo-woo stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
but
totally.
to see the transformation, and Mitch said to us, like, don't think that I'm some guru that's kind of figured it all out. I mean, I love in this book, he says when he went to Morrie's for the first time, he rocks up at the house. He's on the phone to his producer back at the radio station. He's got a coffee down there. He's rocked up to Morrie's house. Morrie's out in the front yard. Morrie, being the wise man that he is, sees him in the car. So Mitch actually leans forward to try and hide.
Yeah.
Spills his coffee, trying to get to a deadline on time. And he's essentially having one of those epiphanies going, what the hell am I doing?
What am I doing? What's important here? So he's working 100 hours a week, busting his nut, trying to get everything right to meet deadlines, and still probably failing miserably at deadlines, realizing that he's missing life. And there, probably only from here to the front yard away, was Morrie waiting for him with a smile on his face, waiting for him just to be greeted so that they could actually start to share some pearls of wisdom. And it shaped Mitch's life. And Mitch went on to say during our interview that there was a number of different lessons that he learned, but the most profound one was to be able to bring into your life those who you love and exclude from your life the ones that really don't matter that much. And when he means exclude, don't spend so much time with them that it distracts you from the things that really matter, that are really important. And so we could, and we've spoken, about paleo, veganism, vegetarianism, CrossFit, all of the extreme...
Grain-free, intermittent fasting.
100%, 5-2, the whole lot. We've spoken about all of these sorts of eating programs, lifestyle programs, all the things that are fatty and that kind of come and go. And really, at the end of the day, when you're lying in your deathbed, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have gone hard with paleo, or I wish I'd have done a couple of extra muscle ups, or I wish I had.
Shouldn't have had so much rice.
That's right. And I wish I really did quit sugar. But you know, those sorts of things, you kind of think, oh, far out. What really matters? And in this book, we learned that bringing into your life those people that you love and surrounding yourself with people that love you was way more profound than anything else.
Now, Damo, 35 million people have read Mitch's books.
Yeah, right.
45 languages, 49 countries. You shared with Mitch that you were moved to tears.
I was.
In listening to the audiobook. Mitch is one of those rare individuals that when he writes an incredible book, he's not lazy and gets some buggerlugs to read the book. Mitch actually read the book himself, which I think is one of the biggest keys to a good audio story. But you were moved to tears, and I didn't ask you during the interview because Mitch's time is precious, but I want to know now, what part of the book moved you to tears? And if you're happy to, what did you reflect on that clearly brought the tears on?
You know what it was? You know, when you're watching a movie, or when sometimes a really nice moving commercial comes on, and you go, "Oh, that's really sweet." I was watching the Olympics. You know, obviously, I've just date stamped this, but we're watching the Olympics the other night, and there was some celebration, and there was one really great thing that I saw, which was Usain Bolt and Mo Farah, and they meet in the concourse coming out.
I haven't seen this.
Unbelievable, right? Meet in the concourse coming out as the gold medal has just been presented to Usain Bolt, and Mo Farah's going out to run his 5,000 meters to win the gold, right? And they meet, and you kind of go, oh wow, what a moment. And so it's those sorts of things that I found in the storytelling that Mitch, so beautifully read, in what he'd actually written was those sorts of things. So it'd be things like Morrie mentioning that it's the family that matter, or that we're being brainwashed in society into thinking that material things really matter, when in actual fact it's not materialism that you're looking for. He mentioned things a lot about forgiveness, and forgiveness for me, I've had a few things happen in my life. Right? And so I kind of reflected on that. I thought, oh, maybe it's one of those things that I could work more on. And so you kind of think, okay, well, how's that impacting my life? How's it impacting my family's life? How's it impacting my work life, my colleagues, the people I employ, all of those sorts of people around me? What are the sorts of things that I could do differently, better? And then you reflect on where maybe you've made some errors, and you start to think, okay, I could do that better. So they're the sorts of things that moved you. But the most moving thing was in the audiobook, when you actually get to hear Morrie talking. If
this is really pricking your ears up and you're interested in what we're talking about, I've got to recommend, obviously, read the book. But as Mitch was telling us, four of his 7 books have been made into television movies.
Yeah.
So you can watch Tuesdays with Morrie. You can watch The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. You can absorb this in so many ways. But I think what you and I love about it is that Mitch is a regular guy working hard, which a lot of guys can relate to.
Yeah.
But I also think the messages of the book are like, don't wait till you get on your deathbed to shift your life. Make your community now.
Yeah.
Learn to forgive now. I mean, forgiveness is a really tricky one, because as I say to a lot of people, you can forgive your mum or your dad or your ex-husband or your ex-boss or whatever, but as soon as you're on the phone to your mum and she says, don't you think you should be working in a safe job or whatever it is, then that forgiveness gets tested, right?
Yeah,
so forgiveness is a constant. There's no quick fix, so to speak, and I think that's one of the great messages of the book. But if I can just shift gears for a moment, and after we interviewed Mitch, we then interviewed Dr Mario Martinez.
Wow.
And what I loved about both of them, and I want to read from Tuesdays with Morrie, is Morrie said, the culture we have does not make people feel good about themselves, and you have to be strong enough to say, if the culture doesn't work, don't buy it. And then following on from that interview with Mitch, we interviewed Dr Mario Martinez, who was talking about the mind-body connection, and we all talk about how the mind influences the body, but what influences the mind, and what we were talking about as influencing the mind is our culture.
Yeah.
So our culture is so young, and what Mario was suggesting was, in the younger cultures, we have this individual mindset around our culture, whereas in the older cultures we're in a group. So the Italians are in a group, and the Greeks are in a group, and the Asians are in a group. So he was talking about shaming, and so when we shamed, physiologically you can see people more inflamed,
have a stress response,
but have no one to go to, and then they kind of suppress it and the rest.
That's in our society, right? Yep. So in the Western world, he mentioned that we get shamed individually, and because we're so about the individual, and you could almost call it narcissism, we don't have that ability to buffer or that ability to deflect or to bounce stuff off. Whereas in the cultures, even in the culture of Ikaria, when we were in Ikaria, because it was such a tight family thing, everybody knew everything about what was happening in everybody's life. And that was nice because it was never left to one person to carry the burden or to carry the load. And that was profound, wasn't it? Because exactly what you're saying there is that when you've got a community of people surrounding you, you have that ability to just deflect and let the stuff that would stress you out just run off your back.
Absolutely. And so I wonder if we look at what Mitch says and we look at what Mario was saying, because one comes from a real life experience perspective,
sure,
and the other one comes from science and research. So based on the two, I think what we want to do is go, well, know that the science and research is there, and know that you can meet incredible people along the way, and there's so much wisdom to learn from people. But I think where the power of it all lies is the ability to, I suppose, turn that knowledge into action without sounding so practical about it. But Mitch could have, and there were times when, particularly at the beginning of the book, where you could see that he was glad to see Morrie, but he really had no idea why he was there. He just was doing it on an urge, but he realised that he was there to actually transform his life. And I think that's where a lot of people, without getting too morbid about things, they're passive learners. So they'll read the book and they go, oh, that was a good book.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was really nice.
Well-written story.
And they go back, and then they go back to messy lives, mediocre lives, whatever it is, and they don't do anything with what the intention of the book is. What do you think is, again, based on your experience, it's pretty fresh since you've read this, I'm reading it again at the moment, what do you think for you is the clincher between liking the book and then actually doing something about it?
Oh, that's a great question.
Put you on the spot.
I wasn't expecting that one. But I think the ease at which you can implement the lessons from this book was great, because I've read hundreds of books, and listened to heaps of audio books. But because this was a real life story, and because it came from a man who was dying, and the only thing he wanted to do was share his story and his lessons with with Mitch. It wasn't so much about, you must do this is a set of instructions, and if you don't do this, then, you're getting it all wrong. So I didn't feel like someone was ramming something down my throat. I didn't feel like I had to subscribe to the next fad or the next big trend in health and well-being or wellness. This is 20 years old, this book, and these are life lessons. And I suspect that if we approached anybody who was on their deathbed, that they were passing away, and they were reflecting on their life, I suspect that these lessons will be lessons that everybody would want to share and pass on. Because I think that there's a degree of wisdom that you receive as you're about to leave the planet, and I think that most people dying would reflect on it and be something like that. And that's why I found that this here resonated with me so much. Not that I'm dying, but we're all dying. We all are dying. But it was those lessons that I thought, these are lessons I can learn from them. I don't have to do it unless it's not gonna make me live less if I don't do it.
Do you reckon this is the shift that's going on though in personal growth and even health and wellness? Because I was saying to Kim Morrison the other day, I'm getting a bit sick and tired of personal growth. If someone tells me to do something, I'm going to vomit. I'm just done with this, do that, and it will improve your life and the rest. When it comes from a more global sense around life, it's not like eat raw broccoli and have this type of soup. It's like, be nice to people. Celebrate your life. Don't die whilst you're living. Actually live, truly live your life. I mean, Mitch was having epiphanies of Morrie seems more fulfilled whilst he's dying than many people are when they've got all of their health or their wealth or the rest of it. He's actually living a better quality of life. But do you think maybe this is the shift that it's going on? We spoke in the Wellness Summit preview podcast, the theme seems to be about lighten up. Don't feel so obliged to follow a system and a structure and the rest. Do you think because of this busy world that we live in, people are going, you know what, I need something that's a bit more global rather than a biohack?
Well, you've raised so many unbelievable points on there, I reckon, buddy, because what we've got at the moment in Australia, we've got this whole black or white thing. There's a mentality around right or wrong, that you're either good or bad, and there's no in between. And it's the colours that we talk about that are in between that is the enjoyment of life. And so I think you're right with the shift in wellness, the shift in the thinking around health and well-being, is that people are starting to lighten up a little bit. People are starting to go, hang on a second, I don't need to hack that, I don't need to do that in order to live for a long time. In fact, many people don't know why they're doing these life hacks. People don't know why they're going paleo. They don't know why they're going gluten-free. They don't know why they're doing CrossFit. They just kind of think that this is the way to go. But I think what it is bring them into a tribe. And so it brings people into a sense of identity. And so
because they're looking for connection.
They're looking for connection and looking for community. And so, we've got Instagram, we've got Facebook, we've got Snapchat, we've got all these ways in which we can communicate. But the question will be are we really communicating, and is it really resonating? And I think people are looking for connection points and touch points. So even when people aren't doing CrossFit 100% hard out, they still remain in their community. They've got their box that they hang out with. When people identify with the paleo way of life, they kind of go, I'm paleo, but in the backyard they're having Mars bars or Snickers or whatever else they're doing, having some grain, having some rice. They want to be part of a tribe, and this is where we're going with this, the psychoneuroimmunology part of it, Morrie's life. Even when we're looking at what Bruce Lipton talks about, creating an environment that actually helps us live well will enhance our longevity and our well-being, more so than being over-analytic about stuff.
And the more labels people seem to be adopting in their life, the more stressful they're becoming.
100%.
So I'm paleo, but I hate my job, I don't like my relationship, I'm unfulfilled, whatever it is, but I'm paleo.
Yep.
And that ends up becoming a stress. And then if you're not paleo, then what are you? Or, you know what I mean? Well, what happened to being a husband or a wife or a son or a daughter or just a friend?
Yeah.
Which I think is what books like this are great for, is going, well, does it really matter what you eat? Is it more important who you eat it with and how you eat it than exactly what you're eating? And we find that time and time again, don't we, with the guests that we're interviewing, blowing our minds in terms of the quality of their diets, but the fulfillment of their lives is a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, in Ikaria, we didn't see much focus on diet at all. So when we were over in Europe, we went to Athens, for example, and I know that when we're exploring Sardinia and when we're looking at Okinawa over in Asia and Japan, there's not a massive focus on diet. It's the people, the community, the culture that is way more profound in terms of their longevity secrets than anything else.
There's so much we could talk about, and no doubt we'll be discussing a lot about Mitch and Mario Martinez on future episodes. Thanks again for your wisdom, as always, on 100 Not Out. Really hope you've enjoyed this episode of 100 Not Out, folks. To find out more, come visit us on Facebook, facebook.com/100 Not Out. To find out more about Damian, go to damianchristoph.com, myself, marcuspierce.com.au. And we want you in Ikaria 2017. Talk about an unforgettable experience. To find out all about it, go to www.100notout.com. Until next time, folks, thanks for joining us, and continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.